And welcome to Lagos. This morning from our Lagos studio, we shall be looking at the 2015 election and the spate of violence currently being witnessed in the course of campaigns across the country. Recent political developments arising from the political campaigns have stated the need for us to take a stock of these developments in the face of what appears to be growing emergence of political thuggery ahead of next month's election. You will recall that only last week the presidential convoy was attacked twice, first in Katsina and then Bauchi. Over the weekend, ex-Niger Delta militants actually had a meeting, and there they are actually spitting fire that any further attack on the presidential convoy will be met with resistance. This morning from the Lagos studio, we shall be looking at the issue of political violence across the country. You're also aware that a fortnight ago, the secretariat of the APC in River State, or Krika precisely, was actually bombed. And this has thrown a lot of issues, up as it relates to the forthcoming election and the possible breakdown of law and order, if not nipped in the bud. Joining me this morning from the Lagos studio to look at this most important issue are two gentlemen. First, I have with me in the studio Abubakar Yesufu, a legal practitioner, former Student Union President, University of Benin, and currently the Chairman, League of Patriotic Lawyers. Abubakar is joined by Nat Egba. Nat was a former commissioner in Barrister State and a prominent politician, political leader in the state. You're welcome to Kaakaki this morning. Yes, we have seen you had the background as laid down in the course of this program. I want to ask precisely. Let's start from this point. If you put all of these attacks on the presidential convoy and the bombing of the APC office in the River State, how would you talk about the worries being shown by people across the country as it relates to the 2015 election right now?
Well, the truth is that whatever worries people express at this time is quite justified, in view of the kind of things that we are seeing happening across the country. I have been privileged as an adult to witness elections, right from 1979, when we had NPN, UPN, and so on and so forth. Yes, through that time and up till now, we used to have violent, occurrences in the course of electionary campaigns, but we've never had the kind of things that we have seen now. I.e., a whole presidential convoy, being attacked, not just once, but twice. And if not that, the governor of Borno State was quite proactive by calling on his people and by extension his party members, to conduct themselves in an orderly manner. Who knows? It may very well have been replicated in Borno State also. So the indications are not encouraging, and therefore it gives people cause for worry. And it is about time. And this is coming. I've already signed a peace accord, signed up to conducting themselves or their activities in a peaceful manner. Yet we are seeing this spate of attacks and violent activity. So it does not portend good for the polity, and therefore all men and women of goodwill have a responsibility really to come out and speak up at this time. And again, the political leaders have an extra responsibility now, because it has shown that it's not just enough to sign on to a peace accord, but it's also very important to rein in your supporters, your followers, and indeed the electorate, to ensure that these things do not happen again.
Okay, Abubakar, I need to come to you now. We've heard people talk about religious and ethnic sentiments that possibly may fuel more crisis if not checked. And if you look at the kind of tension we have right now, some people are saying, look, shift the election for us to settle all of the issues, on the front burner. How would you do? At what point did we miss it that we now got to this point of violence in the course of campaigns? I was talking to a guest here the other time that, look, in the UK, we find a situation where a party was campaigning and they finished their campaign. In the course of returning back to base, they found that their opponent's speaker had developed a fault. They easily gave their own speaker to that opponent to conduct their own campaign. But in Nigeria, I asked, for instance, an APC convoy is on the move and their vehicle breaks down. Do you see a PDP convoy passing and say, look, guys, hop in, we are one? Why do we have so much violence now as we prepare towards the election? Very well.
Thank you for having me. I want to agree with my good friend that the signs are very ominous, and if it were possible to go to the Elizabethan time and go through history, would have been correct to describe it that the politicians of today, they have really not learned anything. And you remember the bonbons when they were sent into exile, and when they came back, they were so determined to assume the anarchic past. Okay. That's why philosophers and historians alike will say that dynasty of the bonbon, in spite of your 22 years in exile, you've learned nothing and you've forgotten nothing. Okay. The politicians, some politicians of today, despite the military integrum, despite the problems we've had in the past to really stabilize the polity, I would say that they have indeed learned nothing and forgotten nothing. The first reason why this tension is mounting is the issue of monetizing the political culture of Nigeria. Okay. We have delivered a lot of papers, and some have listened to us, some have also turned deaf ears to our paperwork and what have you. You discover that we have a fraudulent federalism. In the First Republic, the central or centrifugal government was not as powerful as you have now. So by the time you have the states coming every month to take their monthly stipend from the central government, you see that that honeypot, becomes very attractive, and people try to kill a do-or-die battle to realize their political ambition. This to me is unnecessary. This to me is unusual, and that's why those of us, at the League of Patriotic Lawyers, we surely believe in our mantra. Okay. Love for one's nation, loyalty to the state, and even zeal for his true interest. It doesn't talk well if somebody like Kumasi in the north will tell you that, look, we want the president to come from the north, and the Asari Dokupo in the River State is spitting fire that the country will go into flames if I'm arrested. Yeah. One would have expected the security operatives to rein in these people, for power talks, magnification of differences, and even tendency towards sectionalism. Okay. To appear as if that they are shirking their responsibilities. Okay.
So if I may ask now, this north-south dichotomy, let me just borrow that word, in the face of this violence, because you find that, from the far south, people are saying, look, if our man does not get there, the country will burn down. The north is saying, look, if our man does not get there, then there will be no longer Nigeria. So what does this portend for our polity? What does it portend for Nigeria's democracy? Very ominous. The signs are ominous, and there's need to re-enlighten and educate, the Nigerian masses that coming to power is a call for service to mankind, and not necessarily as an avenue to enrich your pocket. Okay. Only recently, we had an interactive section with Professor Shibajo, very cerebral fellow, interactive sections to breakfast. And, I'm inclined to believe that such a man would not sponsor violence or would not be party to violence. Okay. So it is some of these overzealous elements in the party polity, so to say, for want of a better debate, that are actually financing or sponsoring these things so that they can honor or leak from this honeypot that is attractive. So you are saying there is need for self-caution? Self-caution, and the leaders of various parties should call their supporters to order. So how do you react to this?
Yeah, you see, he just mentioned the presidential running mate of the APC, and talk about seeing him as somebody that will not stand for violence. But I don't know why he had to bring that in, because if I'm a politician, I'm a PDP, PDP person, like you said. And what we have seen so far, apart from the cases in River State, are that the most brazen attacks have occurred in APC, have been perpetrated by APC supporters. So if you go ahead to bring an example of Shibajo as being in a team that ordinarily should not sponsor violence, yet the evidence on ground shows that that is where most of the violence is being perpetrated, then it's a contradiction. So I think that most of what the political leaders are signing on is not being translated to the grassroots level.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, he also mentioned Kumasi. Kumasi ordinarily is supposed to be a leader. He's not. He's supposed to be a political. But all of the statements and signs and body languages and things like that are coming out from major leaders like that are also encouraging the people at the grassroots level to embark on the kinds of things that they are doing. Now, when these sort of things come out from a part of the country, then another part, just as you mentioned earlier, begin to respond, then we find ourselves in a very serious situation. So, and I'm sure that's the context in which some of the ex-Niger Delta militants made the statements that they made. But I'm sure that no matter the level of provocation, I know that those militants will not go ahead to, say some of the things that they, go ahead to do anything, despite the threats that they may have put out. So what we really need to do, to my mind, is that leaders just don't have to talk. They have to also walk the talk.
Okay.
It's very, very important.
But when you talk about leaders, leadership is supposed to rule influence. So now, don't you think the onus lies, in the hands of these leaders to begin to now curtail the excesses of their followers?
Yeah, that's what. Let me quickly respond. I mentioned Professor Shibajo, because we had an interactive section with him, and we have also invited people from the other divide, PDP, and we're expecting them to come. And he will agree with me that during my presentation, I lambasted Kumasi from the north. I also lampooned aside the Kubo from the south. So you will see neutrality.
Okay.
And in matters of opinion, there can be no dispute. Gossip, you not dispute. So I don't think that's an indication of bias. You discover in the League of Patriotic Lawyers, though we pretend, what we believe in is what the people want.
Okay.
And we believe that the welfare of the people should be the supreme law of the land.
Okay.
An example will suffice. Even